think it'd be good to first talk about how sleep impacts hunger and appetite.
Yeah.
And even food choice as well.
Mm-hmm.
So typically when people are sleep deprived, they often crave more like salty, sugary, fatty foods. And it's really hard to satiate them, and they're just a lot hungrier because when we're sleep deprived, we don't have as much circulating leptin, the hormone that makes us feel nice and full, and we have much more ghrelin, the hormone that says, hey, I'm hungry. Even if we don't need it, it'll put us well above our maintenance intake. And so I see this all the time, when someone says, on this day, for whatever reason, I was starving, I was super hungry, like I could never get full enough, and I was just craving all these snacks all day, but they slept 4 hours the night before. So it's a super important aspect in nutrition as well, because it changes the food choices we make. It changes how much food it takes to satiate us.
And think about if you're not on top of your food intake, right? If you're not tracking or you're not cognizant, whether it's macros, habits, whatever it is, just checking in with a coach.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, think about how often this is happening, right? Like maybe every few nights you have a really shitty night of sleep, which then causes you to have all these cravings, to then go for these less quality foods, to have, maybe too much caffeine. And we're not against caffeine at all, but, abusing it, right? And then that leads to you probably feeling like shit, maybe not exercising, and then having another poor night's sleep. Like it's just kind of like the cyclical thing.
Yeah.
And if you're not aware of this, you likely are going to be going for these sugary, fatty, salty, think like snacks, high calorie, just, high calorie. Your body's like, you haven't slept, you need energy.
Right.
Regardless of your body fat status. Like you haven't changed, you're not dieting. Like when you're dieting, like in a real deep deficit, your sleep is always trash, and then you're always generally pretty hungry. So that kind of is like this self-fulfilling loop. But if you're not in that kind of period, you can still have these feelings without dieting.
Yeah, I know for me personally, I like to keep a very consistent feeding window. So I start eating, I'm just consistent across the board. I start eating at a specific time. And recently it's pretty late in the morning. It'll be like 11 or noon. But when I haven't slept, and I'll usually won't be hungry until like 11 or noon. But if I haven't slept or I've had a horrible night of sleep, I will start like starving at like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Knowing what I know about sleep's impact on appetite and hunger and physiology, I'll be like, man, I'm so hungry right now. But I know like realistically, I don't need this, because if I actually got enough sleep, I wouldn't be hungry. So, but if you don't understand that and you're sleeping like crap, or you're maybe not practicing the best sleep hygiene the night before and things like that, and you're not getting enough deep sleep, which is super important, and you're hungry, and you're eating more, not only longer throughout the day, but more at each meal, those calories are really going to add up over time.
For sure. So just being aware of that is number one.
Yeah.
2, we're really trying to correct your sleep, but everybody has nights where you don't sleep that much. It's just life. It happens. So in the advent that you do have a low night of sleep, try, if you can, to get a nap. Make sure you're having nutritious foods. And, we're not saying don't ever have snacky food, but keep it within reason and understand what's going on.
Yeah, and then both directly and indirectly, sleep has a significant impact on body composition and weight, right? So if you're not sleeping very much and you're hungrier, you're obviously going to eat more, which might cause, more weight gain. And you typically see individuals who don't get enough consistent sleep are on the heavier side or have higher quote-unquote BMIs, have all these other metabolic dysregulations, higher blood sugar, higher HbA1cs, and things like that. And so sleep deprivation will elevate blood glucose. So every time I, have checked my fasting glucose when I haven't slept very well, it's at least 10 to 15 points higher than it normally is. So sleep has a super important impact on our body's ability to regulate blood sugar. And then I also feel like a little bit more inflamed and just retaining water when I don't sleep as much.
For sure.
And if you have someone who weighs in the next day or weighs in that morning, or they have a weight on their macro tracking sheet like we do that's highest, it's typically because the night before we say, oh, you only slept 4 hours that night, that's why your weight is a little bit higher this next day. And so again, if people don't understand that, they'll look at that as, oh my God, I gained like 3 pounds of body fat overnight. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
No, you just didn't sleep enough.